I never thought I would find myself in such a terrifying situation. It all started a few weeks ago when strange things began happening around my house. At first, they were small things: keys disappearing from where I left them, lights flickering even though the bulbs were new. But it didn't take long for these little oddities to escalate into something far more sinister. I was lying in bed one night, teetering on the edge of sleep, when I first heard a faint whisper. It was so soft that I thought it might be the wind rustling through the trees outside my window. I turned on my side and closed my eyes again, but the whisper persisted, growing louder and more distinct. "Alex. Alex." I sat up, heart pounding. The room was dark, the only light coming from the street lamp outside casting eerie shadows on the walls. I held my breath, straining to hear anything else, but the whispering had stopped. I tried to shake it off as a figment of my imagination and eventually fell into a restless sleep. The next morning, I mentioned it to Sam, my best friend. We had known each other since high school, and if there was anyone I could trust, it was Sam. We were having coffee at our favorite cafe when I brought it up. "Hey, Sam, you ever get the feeling that someone's whispering your name when you're alone?" Sam looked at me, eyebrows raised. "Are you serious? That's creepy, Alex. You sure it wasn't just a dream?" I shrugged, stirring my coffee absently. "Maybe. I don't know. It felt so real." Sam reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Don't worry about it. You've been under a lot of stress lately. Your mind's probably just playing tricks on you." Sam's reassurance made me feel a bit better, but as the days went on, the strange occurrences became more frequent and harder to dismiss. I would come home to find the furniture slightly moved, the TV turned on, or the fridge door open. And always, at night, the whispers would return, more insistent and clearer each time. "Alex, they know." One night, after another bout of whispering, I decided to investigate. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and a growing sense of dread, I crept through my house, checking every room. Everything seemed normal until I reached my bedroom. There, on my pillow, was a note. My hands trembled as I picked it up and unfolded it. "Trust no one." The words sent a chill down my spine. I dropped the note as if it had burned me and backed away, my mind racing. Who had been in my house? How did they get in? And why were they trying to scare me? I called Sam, desperate for some comfort. They came over immediately, and we spent the next few hours searching the house for any signs of an intruder. We found nothing. "Maybe it's just some sick prank," Sam suggested, but their voice lacked conviction. "Try to get some rest. We'll figure this out." I nodded, but sleep was the last thing on my mind. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, the whispering started again. This time, it was right next to my ear. "They know what you've done." I bolted upright, heart racing. The room was empty, but the words echoed in my mind. What had I done? Why was this happening to me? Days turned into weeks, and the haunting persisted. The whispers were a constant presence, following me everywhere. I began to feel like I was losing my grip on reality. I confided in Sam again, but they seemed more distant, less invested in helping me find answers. One particularly dark night, the whispers grew louder than ever before. I could feel a presence in the room with me, cold and menacing. The voice was so close, so real, it was as if someone was right beside me. "Alex, they know what you've done." I screamed, jumping out of bed and running to the living room. I needed to get out of the house, to clear my head. As I reached for my coat, my phone buzzed on the table. It was a text message from an unknown number. You can't trust your own mind. I dropped the phone in shock, backing away from it as if it were a venomous snake. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to process what was happening. I felt a creeping paranoia seeping into my bones. I didn't know who to trust anymore. I didn't even trust myself. The next day, I was determined to get to the bottom of this. I searched my house thoroughly, looking for anything that could explain the strange events. And then, in the back of my closet, I found it. A hidden camera, cleverly disguised, but unmistakable once I knew what to look for. I retrieved the footage, my hands shaking as I plugged it into my computer. What I saw made my blood run cold. The camera showed Sam entering my room at night, standing over me as I slept, whispering those haunting words into my ear. I watched in horror as they placed the note on my pillow and slipped back out, a satisfied smile on their face. I felt a mixture of rage and fear. Sam, my best friend, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. But why? What had I done to deserve this? The questions swirled in my mind, making me feel dizzy and sick. As I tried to comprehend the betrayal, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. You can't trust anyone. Not even yourself. I dropped the phone and backed away, my heart racing. The room seemed to spin around me, and I could feel the walls closing in. The whispers were louder now, a cacophony of voices all around me. Alex, they know. You can't trust anyone. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, trying to block out the voices. But it was no use. The betrayal, the whispers, the eerie messages, it was all too much. I didn't know what was real anymore. And then, out of the darkness, came a final whisper, so close it felt like someone was right next to me. They know what you've done. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Sam, my closest friend, the one person I thought I could rely on, had been tormenting me. My mind raced with questions and fears. What had I done to deserve this? How long had this been going on? I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to gather more evidence. I needed to know why Sam was doing this. I started by going through every interaction we'd had in the past few months, looking for any inconsistencies or signs I might have missed. It was like trying to piece together a puzzle while blindfolded, but I was determined. One evening, as I was going through my messages and emails, I stumbled upon something odd. A recording that I didn't remember making. With trembling hands, I played it. The voices were muffled at first, but then I recognized them: Sam and another person I couldn't identify. "You're sure Alex won't find out?" the unknown voice asked. Sam's voice was calm and confident. "Don't worry. Alex is too paranoid to think straight. Everything is going according to plan." My heart sank. This wasn't just some prank or a moment of madness. This was a calculated, deliberate effort to make me doubt my sanity. But why? What could possibly motivate Sam to go to such lengths to torment me? As the days went by, my paranoia grew. Every noise, every shadow seemed like another part of Sam's twisted game. The whispers continued, more frequent and clearer. I started to see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my vision, disappearing as soon as I turned to look at them. I felt like I was constantly being watched. I decided to confront Sam. I needed answers. I needed to know why they were doing this to me. I invited them over for coffee, trying to act as normal as possible. When Sam arrived, they seemed perfectly at ease, as if nothing was wrong. "Hey, Alex. How are you holding up?" they asked, their voice filled with false concern. I forced a smile. "I've been better. Actually, I found something strange the other day. I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Sam's expression shifted from concern to anger. Where did you get that? It doesn't matter. What matters is why you're doing this to me, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. Sam sighed, their facade of friendship crumbling. You wouldn't understand, Alex. You've always had everything handed to you on a silver platter. You've never had to struggle, never had to fight for anything. What are you talking about? We've been friends for years. If you had a problem with me, why didn't you just talk to me? I demanded. Because talking wouldn't change anything, Sam snapped. I needed you to see what it's like to feel powerless, to doubt yourself. I needed you to suffer, like I've suffered. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sam's jealousy and resentment had driven them to destroy our friendship and my sanity. I felt a mix of anger and sorrow. How could someone I trusted so deeply betray me like this? Before I could say anything else, Sam stood up. I think it's time for you to leave, Alex. We're done here. As Sam left, I felt a hollow emptiness inside. I didn't know what to do next. The person I thought was my best friend had become my worst nightmare. That night, the whispers were louder than ever. They seemed to come from every direction, filling my mind with doubt and fear. Alex, they know, you can't trust anyone. I tried to block them out, but it was no use. My mind was racing, trying to process everything that had happened. The hallucinations were getting worse. I saw shadowy figures in my room, heard footsteps echoing down the hall, and felt a cold presence lingering just out of sight. Desperate for some semblance of normalcy, I decided to record my thoughts and observations. Maybe if I could document everything, I could find some pattern, some clue to what was real and what wasn't. One evening, as I was reviewing my recordings, I noticed something odd. In the background of one of my videos, there was a faint but distinct sound, a whisper. I played it back over and over, trying to make out the words. You can't trust your own mind. The same message I had received in the text. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just Sam trying to mess with me. Someone else was involved, someone who knew exactly how to push my buttons. I needed to find out who it was. I started digging into Sam's past, looking for anyone who might have a grudge against me. I found nothing concrete, just vague hints and unsettling coincidences. The more I looked, the more questions I had. One night, as I was going through my notes, I heard a noise in my bedroom. I grabbed my phone and quietly made my way down the hall. As I approached the door, I saw a shadow moving inside. My heart pounded in my chest as I slowly pushed the door open. Inside, I found another note, pinned to my pillow. You can't trust anyone. Not even yourself. I felt a chill run down my spine. The room seemed to close in around me, the shadows growing darker and more menacing. I backed out of the room, my mind racing with fear and confusion. Just then, my phone buzzed with a new text message. It was from the unknown number. Meet me at the old warehouse tomorrow night. Come alone. I spent the entire day pacing around my house, filled with a sense of impending doom. The message had left me shaken, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. If I wanted to put an end to this nightmare, I had to confront whoever was behind it. As night fell, the whispers grew louder, almost as if they were trying to dissuade me from going. Alex, it's not safe. Ignoring the voices, I steeled myself for what lay ahead. The old warehouse was on the outskirts of town, a relic from an industrial era long past. It was the perfect place for a clandestine meeting, shrouded in darkness and decay. I parked a few blocks away and approached the warehouse on foot, my heart pounding with every step. The building loomed ahead, its broken windows staring at me like empty eyes. I slipped inside through a gap in the rusted doors, the creak of the metal echoing in the silent night. The interior was just as foreboding as I had imagined. Shadows danced in the corners, and the air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. I crept through the labyrinth of old machinery and crates, my flashlight cutting a narrow path through the darkness. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. No answer. I moved deeper into the warehouse, every creak and groan of the structure making my heart race. The whispers in my mind grew louder, more insistent. "Turn back, it's a trap." I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. I needed to stay focused. As I rounded a corner, I saw a figure standing in the shadows. My flashlight flickered, casting an eerie glow on their face. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. The figure stepped forward, and I recognized them instantly. It was Sam. "You're late," they said, their voice cold and devoid of emotion. "What is this, Sam? Why are you doing this to me?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger and fear. Sam smiled, but it was a twisted, cruel expression. "It's not just me, Alex. You're part of something much bigger than you realize." Before I could respond, the warehouse lights flickered on, blinding me for a moment. When my eyes adjusted, I saw that we were surrounded by more people, their faces hidden in the shadows. Panic surged through me. This wasn't just about Sam's jealousy. There was something far more sinister at play. "Who are they?" I asked, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. "They're the ones who helped me," Sam replied. "The ones who showed me the truth about you." "What truth?" I demanded. "I don't understand." Sam took a step closer, their eyes filled with a strange intensity. "You've been living a lie, Alex. Everything you think you know about yourself is a fabrication. We're here to help you see the truth." I shook my head, backing away. "You're insane. This is insane." Suddenly, one of the figures stepped forward, their face illuminated by the harsh light. It was the person from the recording, the one who had conspired with Sam. They held up a mirror, forcing me to look at my reflection. "See for yourself," they said, their voice eerily calm. As I stared into the mirror, my reflection began to change. My face twisted and contorted, morphing into something unrecognizable. I felt a wave of nausea as I watched myself transform into a monster. "No. This isn't real." I screamed, dropping the mirror and stumbling backward. The figures around me began to chant, their voices blending into a terrifying cacophony. The room spun around me, and I fell to my knees, clutching my head. "Alex, they know." The whispers were deafening now, a constant barrage of voices in my mind. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. The figures closed in, their faces twisted into grotesque masks. "You can't escape the truth, Alex," Sam said, their voice echoing in my mind. "You're one of us." I couldn't take it anymore. I scrambled to my feet and ran, pushing past the figures and into the dark corridors of the warehouse. The whispers followed me, growing louder and more frantic. "Run, Alex, run." I burst through a door and found myself in a small room, filled with old surveillance equipment. The monitors flickered to life, showing images of my house, my bedroom, my life. It was all there, recorded and cataloged. My mind reeled as I tried to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just Sam's doing. This was a coordinated effort to drive me insane, to make me doubt everything I knew. "Why are you doing this?" I whispered, my voice breaking. A voice crackled through the speakers, deep and distorted. You are the key, Alex. The key to everything. I felt a cold hand on my shoulder and turned to see one of the figures standing behind me, their face hidden in the shadows. You can't run from the truth, they said, their voice low and menacing. I backed away, my heart racing. Stay away from me. The figure stepped closer, their presence overwhelming. You can't escape your destiny. In a panic, I grabbed a metal rod from the floor and swung it at the figure. They crumpled to the ground, and I bolted for the door. I had to get out of there. I had to find help. As I ran through the darkened warehouse, the whispers followed me, a constant reminder of the terror I couldn't escape. I burst through the doors and into the night, gasping for breath. But as I looked back, I saw them. The figures, standing in the doorway, watching me with their cold, unblinking eyes. You can't run from the truth, Alex, they whispered in unison. You can't run from yourself. I ran through the night, the cold air biting at my skin and the whispers still echoing in my mind. The figures from the warehouse were seared into my memory, their faces hidden yet hauntingly present. Every step felt like it was taking me deeper into a nightmare I couldn't wake from. When I finally reached my house, I collapsed against the door, panting and shaking. My sanctuary felt like a prison now, filled with cameras and eyes I couldn't see. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. The next morning, I knew what I had to do. I needed to get into Sam's apartment and find concrete evidence of what they were planning. I waited until I saw them leave for work, then I made my move. Picking the lock wasn't easy, but my desperation fueled my determination. Once inside, I was hit by a wave of anxiety. I was crossing a line, but I had no choice. The apartment was eerily silent. I moved through it methodically, searching for anything that could explain the madness that had taken over my life. My heart raced as I approached a door at the end of the hallway. It was locked, but I found the key hidden under a nearby plant. The room was dark, lit only by the flickering glow of computer monitors. As I stepped inside, my breath caught in my throat. The walls were covered with photographs of me, candid shots taken without my knowledge. There were detailed notes pinned next to each photo, describing my daily routine, my interactions, my fears. In the center of the room was a large table covered in surveillance equipment. I recognized some of the devices as the same ones I had found in my own home. My mind reeled as I realized the extent of Sam's betrayal. This was no spur-of-the-moment act of jealousy, this was a calculated plan to destroy me. I spotted a journal on the table and flipped it open. The pages were filled with Sam's handwriting, detailing their plans and their twisted logic. They wrote about making me doubt my sanity, about breaking me down until I had no choice but to join them. I felt a wave of nausea as I read their words. I need you to see the truth, Sam had written. You are the key to everything. Without you, we are lost. The journal also mentioned someone else, a shadowy figure who seemed to be orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. My heart pounded as I realized there was more to this than just Sam's vendetta. This was part of a larger conspiracy, and I was at the center of it. As I rifled through the papers, I found a hidden compartment in the desk. Inside was a stack of documents, including maps and plans for more surveillance. There were also photographs of other people I didn't recognize, but who seemed to be part of Sam's twisted network. Suddenly, I heard the front door open. My blood turned to ice as I realized Sam had come back early. Panicking, I shoved the documents into my bag and slipped out of the room, closing the door behind me as quietly as I could. I needed to get out before Sam found me. I crept down the hallway, my heart hammering in my chest. As I reached the living room, I heard Sam's voice, low and urgent, speaking on the phone. Yes, I'm back. No, they haven't found anything yet. But it's only a matter of time. I froze, listening intently. They were talking about me, about the plan. I strained to hear more, but Sam's voice dropped to a whisper. I couldn't risk getting caught, so I made my way to the front door, praying it wouldn't creak. Just as I reached for the handle, Sam's voice rang out, "Alex, is that you?" I turned to see Sam standing in the hallway, their expression a mix of shock and anger. "What are you doing here?" My mind raced, trying to come up with an excuse, but I knew it was pointless. "I needed answers," I said, my voice trembling. "Why are you doing this to me?" Sam's eyes narrowed. "You shouldn't have come here, Alex. You've seen too much." They lunged at me, but I was faster. I bolted out the door and down the stairs, my heart pounding in my ears. Sam's footsteps echoed behind me, growing louder as they gave chase. I burst out of the building and into the street, my legs burning with the effort. I didn't stop running until I reached my house, slamming the door behind me and locking it. I leaned against the door, gasping for breath, trying to calm my racing heart. But I knew I wasn't safe. Sam knew where I lived, and they wouldn't stop until they had me. I pulled out my phone and called the police, but when I tried to explain what was happening, they didn't believe me. They thought I was paranoid, delusional. It was just like Sam had planned. Desperate, I turned to the documents I had stolen from Sam's apartment. I needed to find a way to expose them, to show the world what they were doing. As I sifted through the papers, I found a list of names people who had been targeted, just like me. I reached out to the first name on the list, a woman named Rachel. She was hesitant at first, but when I explained what was happening, she agreed to meet. We arranged to meet at a cafe the next day, and I hoped she could help me make sense of everything. That night, the whispers were louder than ever. They filled my mind, drowning out my thoughts. I couldn't sleep, couldn't escape the sense of impending doom. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I heard a noise in the hallway. My heart skipped a beat as I realized someone was in the house. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the door, my hands shaking. When I opened the door, I saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was me. An identical version of myself, staring back at me with cold, empty eyes. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The figure smiled, a cruel, twisted smile. "You know who I am, Alex. I'm you. I'm the part of you that you've been trying to deny." I backed away, my mind racing. This couldn't be real. It had to be another hallucination, another trick. But the figure stepped closer, its presence overwhelming. "You can't escape the truth, Alex," it said, its voice a chilling echo of my own. "You can't escape yourself." I stood frozen, staring at the apparition before me. It was me, but not me. The doppelganger's eyes bore into mine, a chilling reflection of my deepest fears and insecurities. My mind struggled to comprehend what I was seeing, the line between reality and nightmare blurring into a sickening haze. "You can't escape yourself, Alex," it whispered, its voice an eerie echo of my own. I blinked, and the figure vanished, leaving me alone in the dimly lit hallway. My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt a cold sweat trickling down my back. I stumbled back into my bedroom, slamming the door shut and leaning against it, trying to steady my breathing. Was this another one of Sam's tricks? Or was I truly losing my mind? The questions swirled in my head, each one more terrifying than the last. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly dawn. I had to meet Rachel soon, and I needed to pull myself together. With trembling hands, I splashed cold water on my face, trying to shake off the lingering fear. The whispers had quieted down, but I could still feel their presence, lurking at the edges of my consciousness. I dressed quickly and made my way to the cafe, hoping that Rachel could provide some clarity. When I arrived, Rachel was already there, nervously sipping on a cup of coffee. She looked up as I approached, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Alex?" she asked tentatively. I nodded, sliding into the seat across from her. "Thanks for meeting me. I know this sounds crazy, but I need your help." Rachel leaned in, her expression serious. "Tell me everything." I recounted the events of the past few weeks, from the whispers in the notes to the discovery of Sam's betrayal and the shadowy figures at the warehouse. Rachel listened intently, her face growing paler with each revelation. "That's exactly what they did to me," she said when I finished. "They made me doubt my sanity, isolated me from everyone I trusted. I thought I was losing my mind." "Who are they?" I asked, desperate for answers. "Why are they doing this?" Rachel shook her head. "I don't know. I never got that far. They came for me before I could find out." A chill ran down my spine. "Came for you? What do you mean?" "They tried to take me," Rachel whispered, her voice trembling. "I managed to escape, but I've been on the run ever since. They're relentless, Alex. They won't stop until they get what they want." I felt a surge of fear and anger. "We have to stop them. We have to expose what they're doing." Rachel nodded, her determination mirroring my own. "But we need more evidence. We need to find out who's behind this and why." We spent the next few hours going through the documents I had taken from Sam's apartment, looking for any clues. As we pored over the notes and maps, a pattern began to emerge. There were references to a central location, a place where all the surveillance and manipulation were being coordinated. "The old asylum," Rachel said, pointing to a map. "It's been abandoned for years. If they're operating out of there, it would make sense." I felt a flicker of hope. "Then that's where we need to go. We need to find whatever they're hiding there and bring it to the authorities." Rachel looked hesitant. "It's dangerous, Alex. They'll be expecting us." "I know," I said, my voice firm. "But we don't have a choice. We have to put an end to this." That night, we prepared for our journey to the asylum. We gathered supplies and mapped out our route, determined to uncover the truth. The whispers were relentless, filling my mind with doubts and fears, but I pushed them aside. I couldn't afford to falter now. As we approached the asylum, its dark silhouette loomed against the night sky, a foreboding presence that sent shivers down my spine. The building was surrounded by a high fence, but we managed to find a gap and slipped through, our footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. The walls were covered in peeling paint, and the floorboards creaked under our weight. We moved cautiously, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every sound a potential danger. We made our way to what appeared to be the central control room, the place where all the surveillance equipment was housed. As we entered, the screens flickered to life, showing images of the people they had targeted, including me and Rachel. "This is it," Rachel said, her voice a mix of awe and fear. "This is where they control everything." We began searching for any incriminating evidence, anything that could expose their operation. As I rifled through the papers on a desk, I found a file with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it, revealing detailed notes about my life, my fears, my vulnerabilities. It was all there, meticulously documented. "They've been watching us for years," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "They know everything about us." Suddenly, the door slammed shut, and the room was plunged into darkness. I heard Rachel gasp, and my flashlight flickered out. Panic surged through me as I fumbled to turn it back on. When the light finally returned, I saw them, the shadowy figures from the warehouse, standing in the doorway. "You shouldn't have come here, Alex," one of them said, their voice cold and menacing. Rachel and I backed away, our eyes darting around for an escape route. But there was none. We were trapped. "You've seen too much," the figure continued. "Now you must join us, or suffer the consequences." I felt a surge of defiance. "We'll never join you," I spat. "We'll expose you for what you are." The figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the room. "You still don't understand, do you? You are already part of this, Alex. You've been part of it from the beginning." Before I could respond, the lights flickered again, and the figures advanced. I grabbed Rachel's hand, ready to fight, but I knew we were outnumbered. In a flash of clarity, I remembered the words from the documents - "You are the key." It dawned on me that whatever they wanted from me, it was central to their plans. I had to find a way to use that to our advantage. As the figures closed in, I took a deep breath and whispered to Rachel, "Follow my lead." With all the strength I could muster, I shouted, "Stop. I'll join you. Just let her go." Rachel looked at me in shock, but I gave her a reassuring nod. The figures paused, clearly intrigued by my offer. "You're lying," one of them hissed. "No," I said, my voice steady. "I'm not. I just need her to be safe." The leader of the group stepped forward, their eyes cold and calculating. "Very well, Alex. She can go. But you will stay." Rachel squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. "Alex, no." I pushed her toward the door. "Go, Rachel. Get out of here. I'll be fine." Reluctantly, she ran, disappearing into the darkness. The figures turned their attention back to me, their expressions unreadable. "Now," the leader said, "we begin." The leader of the figures moved closer, their presence suffocating. The shadows seemed to cling to them, as if they were born from darkness itself. My heart pounded, and my mind raced, but I knew I had to stay calm. I had made this choice to protect Rachel, and now I had to see it through. "You have made a wise decision, Alex," the leader said, their voice a chilling whisper. "But understand this, there is no turning back." I nodded, swallowing my fear. "What do you want from me?" The leader smiled, a cold, cruel smile. "You are the key to unlocking the truth. You must embrace your role, accept your destiny." Before I could ask what that meant, the figures closed in around me, their hands gripping my arms and pulling me toward the center of the room. They placed me in front of a large, ancient-looking mirror, its surface cracked and stained with age. "Look into the mirror, Alex," the leader commanded. "See the truth." I stared into the mirror, my reflection staring back at me. But as I watched, my face began to change, morphing into a grotesque, distorted version of myself. My eyes widened in horror as my reflection sneered at me, its mouth twisting into a malicious grin. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The reflection laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "I am you, Alex. I am the part of you that you've been trying to deny, the part that holds the key to everything." The room spun around me, and I felt a wave of dizziness. The figure's grip tightened, holding me in place as the mirror seemed to draw me in, pulling me closer to the truth they spoke of. Suddenly, I was no longer in the room. I was in a dark, endless void, surrounded by shadows and whispers. The air was thick with a sense of dread, and I could feel eyes watching me from the darkness. "Welcome, Alex," a voice echoed around me. "This is where your journey truly begins." I turned, trying to find the source of the voice, but there was nothing but darkness. My heart raced, and I felt a cold sweat on my skin. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice echoing in the void. "We want you to see," the voice replied. "We want you to understand the truth." Images began to appear in the darkness, flashes of memories and moments from my life. I saw myself as a child, playing in the park, laughing with my parents. I saw my teenage years, filled with the usual struggles and triumphs. But then, the images grew darker, more twisted. I saw myself standing over someone, a knife in my hand, blood dripping from the blade. I saw myself whispering to shadows, my eyes cold and empty. I saw faces twisted in fear, people running from me, screaming for help. "No," I shouted, closing my eyes. "This isn't real." "It is real," the voice insisted. "This is who you are, Alex. You are the key to unlocking the darkness within." I felt a surge of anger and defiance. "I don't believe you. This is just another trick." The voice laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You will see, Alex. You will understand." Suddenly, I was back in the room, the figures still holding me in place. The mirror was gone, replaced by a large, ancient book on a pedestal. The leader stepped forward, opening the book to a page filled with strange symbols and drawings. "This book contains the truth, Alex," they said. "It holds the key to your destiny." I stared at the book, my mind racing. The symbols seemed to pulse with a dark energy, drawing me in. I felt a strange compulsion to reach out and touch the pages, to embrace the darkness within. "No," I whispered, pulling back. "I won't do it." The leader's eyes narrowed. "You have no choice, Alex. You are bound to this destiny. You cannot escape it." I felt a surge of panic. There has to be another way. I won't become what you want me to be. The leader smiled, a cruel, knowing smile. "You already are, Alex. You just haven't accepted it yet." Before I could react, the figures tightened their grip on me, forcing me closer to the book. I struggled, but their strength was overwhelming. I could feel the darkness closing in, suffocating me. Just as I was about to give in, I heard a voice, a familiar, comforting voice. "Alex, fight it. Don't let them win." It was Rachel. She had come back for me. I felt a surge of hope and determination. I couldn't let them take me. I couldn't let them win. With all my strength, I broke free from the figure's grip and lunged toward the door. Rachel was there, her eyes wide with fear and relief. "We have to go," I said, grabbing her hand. We ran through the darkened halls of the asylum, the whispers and shadows following us. The building seemed to twist and change around us, turning into a maze of fear and confusion. But we didn't stop. We couldn't stop. As we burst through the front doors and into the night, I felt a strange sense of freedom. The whispers were still there, the shadows still lurking, but I was no longer alone. Rachel was with me, and together, we would find a way to stop this nightmare. But as we ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The figures had said I was the key, and I knew they wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted. Rachel and I ran through the dark, empty streets, our breath visible in the cold night air. The whispers and shadows seemed to follow us, a constant reminder of the terror we had escaped. My mind raced with thoughts of the asylum, the figures, and the twisted reality I had been plunged into. But now, with Rachel by my side, I felt a flicker of hope. "We need to find somewhere safe," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "Somewhere they can't find us." I nodded, glancing around. The only place that came to mind was an old cabin on the outskirts of town, a place where my family used to go for vacations. It was isolated and abandoned, the perfect place to hide. "We'll go to my family's cabin," I said, guiding Rachel toward the outskirts of town. "It's not far, and they won't know to look for us there." As we made our way to the cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a branch sent shivers down my spine. The darkness seemed alive, pressing in on us from all sides. But we kept moving, driven by a desperate need for safety and answers. When we finally reached the cabin, it was just as I remembered it, old and weathered, but sturdy. We quickly went inside, locking the door behind us. The cabin was cold and musty, but it felt like a sanctuary compared to the horrors we had faced. Rachel collapsed onto the old couch, her face pale and drawn. "What are we going to do, Alex? They won't stop until they have you." I sat beside her, my mind racing. "I don't know. But we need to find a way to expose them. To show the world what they're doing." Rachel nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "We have the documents. Maybe we can use them to prove what's happening." As we went through the stolen documents again, something caught my eye, a reference to an ancient ritual, one that involved the key. My heart pounded as I read the details, realizing that it was about me. The ritual was meant to unlock a dark power, one that the figures needed to complete their plans. "They want to use me," I said, my voice trembling. "They need me to perform this ritual, to unleash some kind of power." Rachel's eyes widened. "We can't let that happen. We have to destroy whatever they're planning." We spent the next few hours devising a plan. We would go back to the asylum and destroy the book, the source of their power. It was risky, but it was the only way to stop them once and for all. Armed with our determination and the stolen documents, we set out for the asylum once more. The night was even darker and colder than before, the whispers louder and more insistent. The asylum loomed ahead, its presence foreboding and oppressive. As we approached, we could see figures moving in the shadows, watching us with their cold, unblinking eyes. "Stay close," I whispered to Rachel as we slipped through the gap in the fence. "We can do this." We made our way through the darkened halls, avoiding the figures as best we could. The whispers grew louder, filling my mind with doubts and fears. But I pushed them aside, focusing on the task at hand. When we reached the control room, the door was ajar. I could see the ancient book on the pedestal, its pages glowing with a dark energy. My heart pounded as I approached, feeling the weight of my destiny pressing down on me. "This is it," I said, my voice shaking. "We have to destroy it." Rachel nodded, her face pale but determined. "Do it, Alex. End this." As I reached for the book, the figures appeared, surrounding us. The leader stepped forward, their eyes glowing with a sinister light. "You cannot escape your destiny, Alex," they said, their voice echoing in my mind. "You are the key. You must complete the ritual." I felt a surge of defiance. "No. I won't let you use me." With all my strength, I grabbed the book and tore it from the pedestal. The figures screamed, their voices blending into a horrifying cacophony. The book pulsed with a dark energy, but I held on, determined to end this nightmare. "Rachel, help me," I shouted, and she rushed forward, grabbing the book with me. Together, we fought against the dark energy, the room shaking and the whispers growing louder. The figures closed in, their faces twisted with rage and desperation. But we didn't stop. We couldn't stop. With a final, desperate effort, we threw the book to the ground and stomped on it, tearing its pages and breaking its spine. The dark energy erupted, filling the room with a blinding light. The figures screamed, their forms dissolving into shadows. The light grew brighter, enveloping us. I felt a strange sense of peace, the whispers fading away. The darkness was gone, replaced by a warm, comforting light. I looked at Rachel, and she smiled, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with relief. As the light faded, we found ourselves standing in the middle of the control room, the book destroyed at our feet. The figures were gone, and the whispers were silent. The nightmare was over. But as we left the asylum, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The world seemed different, sharper, and more vibrant. I realized that the darkness within me had been vanquished, but it had left its mark. Rachel and I walked into the dawn, the first rays of sunlight breaking through the clouds. We had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but the scars of our ordeal would remain. As we reached the edge of town, I turned to Rachel. "Thank you for everything." She smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "We did it together, Alex. We're free now."